Dan, let's talk some AMD and Xilinx first. The deal is a go. Xilinx responds in kind, but AMD's also got earnings mixed into it. So what do we make of the reaction right now to Advanced Micro?
Well, Oliver, it looks like AMD had a good number. If you look at their enterprise service group, it was up 116%. You look at their PCs and their gaming group, that was up 31%. That means year-over-year revenue growth. An interesting deal, though, Oliver, because we all think back to Intel buying Altera, right, in the FPGA market, and now we have Xilinx being acquired by AMD, and it's just kind of interesting to see AMD kind of follow Intel's footsteps in making somewhat of a similar acquisition. You have to kind of scratch your head, though, Oliver, just based on valuation. I think it's at about, $143 a share. That's about 43 times fiscal year 2022 estimates on Xilinx. That's pretty much near the high that it was back in April of 2019. So, you kind of wonder, did AMD pay too much, and how does Xilinx fit into their overall strategy? So kind of interesting deal for these two companies to come together.
So Dan, AMD has been one of the most powerful runaway growth stories of really the latter half of the bull market, pre-COVID, post-COVID. The company has shocked in terms of its success against NVIDIA and Intel in the data centers, the prowess that they've maintained in gaming, even despite NVIDIA's strong early lead in this space. Now it seems like, I don't know, it seems like this could easily change that sort of narrative for the stock when they pile on a $35 billion deal. How nimble and aggressive are they going to be, or will they have to focus on now bringing another big company into their business model?
Yeah, you're right, Oliver. I mean, the question is, can they continue to sustain this kind of growth, right? Because it's completely contradictory to what we heard from Intel last week, right? We saw PC unit up 1%. We saw their data server group was down 10%. And then all of a sudden, AMD comes in up 116% in their enterprise and server unit, and up 31% in PCs and gaming. You're right, Oliver. They've made huge strides against Intel. I think the big issue going forward for us with AMD, and you've talked about this before, has just been the current multiple. I mean, they traded about 75 times fiscal year 2000 estimate. That compares to 10 times for Intel and about 58 times for NVIDIA. And the question is, really, like you said, Oliver, can they continue to add legs to this growth story and continue to gain market share, or they have to go out and maybe do another deal like they did with the Xilinx deal that they just consummated? So, how do they keep extra legs on that growth story to sustain that monster multiple?
Do you think that days of 40, 50% revenue growth for AMD are past us?
Well, it's going to be more difficult, right? Because they've got to keep growing margins, right? They got to keep gaining market share against Intel in the PC space and data server, and also against NVIDIA. So how much more gains can they make? So I think it's going to be a little more challenging for them going forward, just because, Oliver, you've probably talked about this in the past, which is, the data center cloud segment is becoming a little bit more mature after a real run up in the first quarter and second quarter. So the question is, going into the second half of the year, can they sustain that growth and, let's say, a little bit more mature market in terms of data center chip demand? Let's
talk to Microsoft before we do some trading here, Dan. I want to make sure to get your thoughts today. We've got earnings coming up. The shares have been somewhat range bound, like many of the big tech names. I see in your bullet points on Microsoft a similar thing we're talking to here with AMD, and that's cash, sweet cash as you put it. What is the chances that Microsoft says they're going to do something with all their money laying around, the big cash pile they're sitting on?
We're right, Oliver. At the end of fiscal year 19, they had $133 billion. That's like not quite much close to Apple, which is $250 billion, but it's about half. Huge amount of money. They did the LinkedIn deal a couple years ago. They were supposed to do the TikTok deal, right? But then Oracle came in and took that away from them. But they've got a lot of money on the sidelines that they could use to add some legs to their growth story. Oliver, all eyes are going to be on cloud, right? Azer, we're looking for 44% growth in the quarter, and commercial cloud about 27% growth. And as we all know, Microsoft has really become a cloud story, which has really been, driving their multiple and their growth in terms of their share price.